off. But I want to go towards an idea of what you hit on, of being almost a purposeful mission to pursue the life within the home, that I like to break down the word integrity. It's hung all over corporate America as a core value, but it's not really broken down in the right sense of how we need to show up in a whole version. So within integrity, there's the root word integer. Integer in mathematics is a whole number. It's unfractioned. So to have structural integrity in your life, you need to have a whole life. Because a fraction life is going to be a house of cards that maybe has two by fours on one side of the building and steel structures on the other. And no matter how many floors you're going to build, that one side is just going to crash. So your integrity, how much whole version are you showing up as, is actually determining like how much of life you can lift. Because if you have a lopsided idea of it and you're living fraction, you're only showing up as one version, you can't actually experience all of the areas of life. And eventually all of those, I think this is why we have such a high divorce rate, because many men are living a fraction life because that's what they were told to do. And when the Industrial Revolution and people were told to go off into the workplace, and that was almost where like the Plato's idea of the modern world is, that's where men are meant to go instead of the battlefield to fight the neighboring tribes. It's go provide for your family, but there still is a component of a wholeness that you still need to be this whole version. And one thing that I want to, you probably will get a good kick out of this. I didn't have any appreciation for it in English literature in sophomore year, but Plato's allegory of the cave, the ability to watch the world against the cave and not be able to see what's actually creating the shadows. That allegory, man, if that doesn't speak to a lot of the problems of what we have, because people are watching the illusion of their life through their eyes. And what people don't really realize connected to that is how you see the world is how you see your life. And those two are connected. And you can't see the world as a bright, abundant place of joy if you don't yet see your life as an abundant place of joy. These two are existentially linked. And most people don't even pause, even in this case, to turn around and see what's behind me. It's all about the illusion that's on the screen because that's all I was told I could look at. And that's how I've learned to see the world.
Absolutely. 2 weeks ago, we went over Plato's allegory of the cave, and we talked about, similarly to what you just mentioned, we talked about the prisoners who are chained and just staring at the shadows. And we even talked about the idea of how sometimes people feel a little bit too comfortable just being there, chained up, and how you can actually learn to love that life, being chained up and just watching the shadows, and how that even though you're experiencing what you believe is a kind of comfort in that area, it's a very dangerous place to be, because you never
There's safety
then
that comes with that, because you know
absolutely
you know what the dangers are. You know that this is how, like, it's your ego. Your ego is wired to keep your brain alive, and so it doesn't like change because it likes knowing all the variables right now, even if those variables are a bad job that doesn't pay the bills. But knowing how the world works is a very solidifying feeling, and the more you solidify with that thought, the more you can just accept. And within the American culture, this is something that we don't often slow down, but it really smacked people in the face when the pandemic hit. Consumerism requires us to stay in patterns. It requires us to believe we need a Target run every weekend to stay happy.
Want to hear the full episode? Then use the links provided to subscribe or follow the Neutral Ground podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Together, we're bringing back civility to meaningful discourse, one person at a time. Join us on the Neutral Ground.